Okay.
Gotcha.
We've got to get on good behavior now because
There you go. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, welcome.
Good morning.
We'll give it maybe, let's see, it's 8:01. Maybe we'll give it one more minute and then we'll do a close to on time start here. So we can be respectful of everyone's time.
I've already gotten to do some training this school year with some of you. Yay!
Awesome. You know, I don't think my presentation is scrolling. Is it? Have you noticed that this is automatically scrolling?
It just moved that time.
I know, I clicked it. It's supposed to do it automatically. I have to check my animations. Oh, see, it did it that time automatically. So, you know, we start our BECs with a safety moment. So be thinking about a safety moment you might share with the group. A couple more folks coming in. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Amy. Hi, Mark. Jacqueline, Margie. See everybody come on in. Okay. Why don't we get started? If you are at the BEC meeting today, you are at the right place. The Business Education Compact is a group that we meet once every month, except for the month of July and December. We are here to learn about workforce development issues that impact Alaska's workforce. Our goal is to collaborate, network, work together so that we can work on Alaska's workforce issues together. So today we're going to be hearing from three Alaskan employers, three very different employers, and hearing about how they are training their own to address Alaska's workforce shortage through innovation, investing in their staff, and cultivating a training-focused workforce culture. So our session is going to involve this time a couple of presentations and one moderated session. We are going to be listening to a presentation by Stephanie Anderson with Trident Seafoods. Ali Frinchtl with Alaska Airlines is going to tell us about some of their innovative partnerships that train Alaskans. And then we're going to have a conversation with Tara Masters with EMC Engineering. So a few housekeeping announcements that I think you're already seeing scrolling on our screen. So ASA will be hosting an in-person BEC meeting. It will be a luncheon in conjunction with our annual meeting. That's going to be October 25th. At O'Malley's on the Green. This will be an opportunity for us, even though we meet on Zoom every month, to meet in person. I'm actually seeing that's not on my scrolling screen. So just remember October 25th, O'Malley's on the Green. And towards the end of this meeting today, I'm going to open it up to roundtable announcements or organizational updates for anyone who wants to give one. That part of our meetings usually pretty short. If you would also email me any organizational announcements when I send out the recording and session summary at the end, I will include all those announcements, but I will need those by email if you want those included in that follow-up email. And just remember that all our BEC meetings are recorded. So if you want to go back and listen to something that was said, you can click on the recording that is on our ASA website. Or if you want to share with colleagues, we want all this information to be shared out to our communities. So please share. As always, as you listen to the presentations today, please be thinking about how parts of what folks are sharing out could be applied to your organization, how it might matter to you. And when we have our Q&A, feel free to ask questions and even share out what you might do with the information that was presented. Okay. With that, does anybody have a safety moment to share?
I do. The Matsu started school today, but Anchorage is starting school tomorrow, and with their staggered start, and all the other districts, I've got them all marked on my calendar. We're going to be starting. So in your neck of the woods, watch out for students and buses and brand new drivers and parents who are taking their little ones and crying all the way back to work or home or wherever because they dropped them off the first time. But in Anchorage, especially with the new start times, you're going to start to see kids at times you didn't expect to see them. So be on the lookout for them.
Great point. Thanks for that safety moment, Julia. Great. Well, with that, I think we can open it up to our presentation. Our first speaker is Stephanie Anderson with Trident Seafoods. Stephanie, if you would unmute, introduce yourself, tell us about Trident and your skilled trades training program.
Okay, well, I'm Stephanie Anderson. I work for Trident Seafoods, and I am the project administrator for our facilities engineering group. So I support our shore operations and the skilled trades and engineering crews that work in those locations. So just a little bit about Trident. We are a seafood company. We're based in Ballard, although I work here out of our Anchorage office. And we have shore plants throughout Alaska. We have 3 value-added plants in the lower 48 where we do our secondary products. We're a global company, so we're about 9,000 employees worldwide. And this program really came from seeing that people within our organization are aging, and that there just aren't a lot of people coming in the door within the skilled trades. And that is kind of an issue across the board in the United States, that there are less people going into the skilled trades than before. So we were trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do? Because we're having a really hard time filling our positions, and we've got to solve this problem, or we are going to be in a huge hard place. We also were kind of recognizing that a lot of our employees had tribal knowledge, and it was going to be really important to pass that knowledge down to young people. So that's how we decided to kind of start our own entry-level training program. And that started with our skilled trades training program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then going to talk about some of the other training programs that we've developed this year. So can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So this program is really a combination of on-the-job learning and then also classroom learning. So here are some pictures of our trainees. Most of these pictures were taken at AvTech. They have been our partner in this project and have worked really closely with us to develop our own short courses, and we also utilize their full-time programs. So this training program is a 4-year commitment. And in the first year, The students go out to AvTech and they take the residential building maintenance course, as well as a couple of short courses that we've developed with AvTech to kind of give the students an idea of what the trades look like, what's out there. So they'll do some welding, refrigeration, machining. They get some safety courses. They go through OSHA training, really to get them exposure to what are the trades. When they're not at AvTech, so in the winter and in the summer, they spend time in our shore operations, and they get to work underneath our chiefs and assistant chiefs and other key mentors in our shore plants. They are seeing how those trades actually translate into a job at Trident Seafoods. And we do our best to kind of rotate them around so that they get a taste of everything at the shore operations also. And then in year 2, they go back to AvTech and they get to pick one of AvTech's full-time programs. And they get to choose from refrigeration, welding, diesel, construction, or electrical. So those are right now the 5 areas that we're able to support. And then they go back to AvTech and they're in one of those full-time opportunities. Again, they're spending time in our shore operations when they're not in school, so that they get the opportunity to kind of see how those translate into a job. The cool part about this program is that we pay the cost of their tuition at AvTech, along with their room and board. We pay their travel to and from, and they also get paid 40 hours a week while they're in school, so 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then they get paid for their hours worked when they're in the shore plants. So typically, we're running 7 days a week, 12-hour days. So they're working about 84 hours a week when they're in the shore operations and making overtime. So this is a really great opportunity for a student who, and there are employees, so they're students and employees, but for someone who's interested in the trades, maybe doesn't know exactly what they want to do, so they're looking to kind of see how it all works. And then, they're interested in going into the trades, because the first 2 years are the job training piece. And then the second set of 2 years, they're working in what we call like a market rate entry level position. And then, so there is a buyback of the tuition. So if they leave the program between like the very start and year 3, they have to pay back 100% of the tuition. If they leave between year 3 and 4, they have to pay back 50% of the tuition. And if they stay the full 4 years, then they could leave Trident Seafoods at that time without any financial commitment to us. So it's a cool program. I'm really excited about it. We are starting our 3rd cohort this fall. So we had our 2nd cohort go back for year 2 on Saturday. And then we've got 7 new students starting in September. And our goal is really to work with like local schools in Alaska to recruit students and other community groups. So our target market, I guess, is people who reside in Alaska. And that's where we really focus our recruiting, although we will take people from lots of different places. So that is our skilled trades training program. But this year we've also developed a mechatronics training program with Clover Park Technical College. And that is a 6-part or 3-part program or 3-part class series where they take 2 classes each. So they get 6 classes and they get the college credits from Clover Park. And that program was developed to support, we're building a new shore plant in Dutch Harbor and on Alaska, which will have a lot of automation and programming and robotics. And so we really wanted to beef up our mechatronics program. And so that opportunity is offered to current employees to beef that up. And we're seeing a lot of success in that. And I think mechatronics is a growing industry within Alaska. And so we're really excited to be able to offer that to our employees now. And then this is kind of outside of my realm, but we've also developed an entry-level program for people who are interested in getting on a boat. So it's a short course with Seattle Maritime Academy, and it's an entry-level people who've never worked on a boat but are interested in being a greenhorn. So they accept a job with us as a greenhorn, and then they go through this short course. So I'm not as familiar with that program, but those are sort of the new initiatives that we started this year. So I think that's all I have to share. I guess we'll do questions at the end.
So Stephanie, since we have a couple extra minutes, maybe we can do questions right now, because I mean, I have a question, if I may. So with your mechatronics program, I understand that the Anchorage School District also has a mechatronics career pathway that they are building out in one of their schools. Is there, I was just wondering if you were aware of that, and if there's any kind of like partnership potential there with the Anchorage School District.
I think there's always opportunity for partnerships because, you know, our goal is really to hire students out of Alaska and employees out of Alaska. And so there's always room for partnership, I think. I haven't kind of talked to them about their program, but I'm excited to hear that because I do think it's a growing industry. And I think there's opportunities for students to get in now and to really build this out. And, you know, they could be very successful in that industry.
Awesome. And then just going back to your skilled trades trainee program, can you tell us a little bit about where all the students have come from across your 3 cohorts that you've held over the last 3 years?
Sure. The first cohort was a little bit rushed, and so we only took 4. One came out of one of our store operations in Cordova, and then the other 3 were just kind of external applicants, so they just found us. And actually the other 3 weren't from Alaska. So then in year 2, we worked really hard to get out into the communities. So we were able to take in year 2, 1 from Metlakatla, 1 from Wrangell, and 1 from Kodiak. And then we had several internal employees apply. So we took 10. Unfortunately, we had a couple who didn't continue on, which happens for various reasons. And then this year we have 2 from Metlakatla, 1 from Petersburg, 1 from Unalaska, 2 internal employees, and then 1 external. So we're taking 7 for this year. So we're really excited to welcome them.
Well,
Hey, Mark,
excellent. Well, thank you. Go ahead.
I have a question. I have actually 2 questions. One is, what are the eligibility requirements? What are you looking for in your candidates? And then what is the capacity? Like if you could max out as many as you could take, what would be the maximum capacity that you could do in a year?
So we have the last 2 years taken 10 students, or had capacity for 10. Year 2, or the second cohort, we did take 10. This year we're only taking 7. As far as what we're looking for, it's somebody who's willing to make a 4-year commitment, really understands the tuition buyback piece, because the last thing we want is to put someone in a bad situation where they haven't understood how it works. So those are the kind of important. And then somebody who's interested in being in the skilled trades. You know, we have kind of targeted our presentations to the shop classes and the CTE programs, although some of the schools have had us talk with all the students because they want them all to hear it. But they just got to have a capacity for the skilled trades. And I think something we added in this year is looking for them to talk a little bit about their leadership experience. This program, we hope, will be the assistant chiefs and chiefs of the future of our company. So kind of asking them to talk a little bit about leadership and maybe a time where they've taken the lead on something.
Awesome, thanks.
And we have a question from Amy. Go ahead, Amy.
Hi, Amy with Alaska Literacy Program. I just had a question about like English level, and then I didn't quite hear like an education level. Like, are they required to have a GED or some kind of formal background?
That's a good question. Yes, they do have to have a GED or a high school diploma, because when they go into the full-time programs at AvTech, that is a requirement. So as far as English language, they do have to be able to be in the classroom setting at AvTech, and they have to be able to complete those programs. I will say that we have had a lot of help and support from the instructors at AvTech, and they've been great. So quite a few of our internal employees that we've taken, they're Spanish speakers, and Spanish is their first language. And just a shout out to the refrigeration instructor at AvTech. He really helped one of my students like figure out how to, he got her a book that was in Spanish so she could better understand the refrigeration piece. And then he really helped walk her through it. So I will say that because that first year they're doing our short courses, there's kind of some room to help them get up to speed. And they have kind of, AvTech has gone kind of above and beyond in that, but I'm not there every day to help students, right? So, and AvTech has been really great in helping us, but the students do have to be able to be self-sufficient in the classroom and ask for help when they need it, because I think that is the biggest piece.
Right. So I think this would be a great opportunity to work with like I know AvTech, you're great, you're one of our recommendations, but like if your local adult education program, with like maybe the extra English support outside, and you might have more candidates as well. But this sounds fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay. I hate to put people on the spot, but we did have a comment in the chat from Kathy LeCompte, Director of AvTech. Kathy, did you want to say a couple of words, or call in from AvTech?
Thanks, Mari. You know, you can always invite me to talk because I always have something to say. I'm so proud of the work that we've been doing with Trident, and we're so honored that they came to us and wanted to do this partnership, and I'm so proud of the staff that are making this work, and it's just such a great program, and the investment in your employees is to be applauded. Sometimes I hear from folks, and this has been years of conversations. I'm not just pointing out any particular situation, but we hesitate sometimes to invest in our employees because they might go somewhere else with their skill. But you have to look at it as, yeah, they might go somewhere else, but while they're here, they're going to be a good employee, well trained to do their job. And if we do our job and treat them well, they will stay with us. So I think this is going to be so interesting to see unfold over the next several years as this continues to roll out, and your retention rate for your employees. So kudos to you, Stephanie, and thank you for your work and your partnership. And I do have to give a shout out to Colin Stewart. He's our point of contact here, and he's just phenomenal. So anyways, so proud of this program. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I will say what Kathy said about employees could potentially leave, and that does happen. And I think, but that's okay. Like, it's okay if employees leave. You know, if we invest into Alaska, it will be a healthier community for everybody. And we hope that, you know, the students will go and buy houses in their communities and reinvest. And so, you know, just because they wouldn't work for us doesn't mean they wouldn't still be contributing to the health and well-being of the economy. So, you know, it is, always, it could happen, right? Employees will leave, but that's okay. It's okay if they leave. And I just encourage other employers who are interested in in building short courses, AvTech has been really great in working with us and partnering with us. So they'll kind of help you design something that works well for your company.
Thank you. Kudos to AvTech.
Can I say a couple things quick too?
Of course.
Yeah. So appreciate all the kudos. And I was going to say, you know, talking about the employee hiring and retention, something I've shared with Stephanie and we've spoke several times amongst our staff is Trident's recruitment strategy and how they vet and hire and retain these, you know, I'll call them students for us, but employees for them. We've commented, like I said, consistently amongst the instructors of, you guys are doing a good job in your hiring processes. You know, the students they have come in, they're good folks. They're easy to work with. The instructors enjoy working with them. So that's, you know, we see obviously a variety of students from all walks of life and places, and these guys are also from all kinds of places. And we've been continually impressed. I remember the first round we had a set of Trident employees, and they were here for a length of time, I think 9 weeks. And I don't think they'd left. And one of our instructors had them at the tail end, so the last 2 weeks of the training. And he's like, you know, I'm really impressed because there's a lot of people that work for a lot of different companies that at week 9, being, you know, off and placed somewhere, would maybe be grumpy or have some grumblings. And, you know, he's like, they don't have a bad thing to say about Trident or about what's happening. These guys are in good spirits and they're, you know, super pleasant to work with. So we appreciate receiving those kind of students because that makes our life easy too.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.
I'm really proud of our students, so I appreciate that.
I just saw 2 of them walk in the door as you were talking, in fact.
Well, excellent. Thank you. And thank you, Stephanie. If you have any questions for Stephanie, I think you're going to hang out and we'll do another round of Q&As at the very end. So feel free to ask your question then. We do have a question in the chat, Stephanie. Will you share your training model document? And I know you have flyers. You've shared them with me. If you would maybe just shoot your latest to me, I will email it out to the entire BEC.
Sounds good. I'll do that.
Okay. Thank you. All right, and with that, I'd like to now invite Frinchtl with Alaska Airlines to come unmute to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the A&P mechanics training, as well as the training you're doing to grow future pilots for Alaska.
There you go. Sorry, I'm not the best with with Zoom. Let me. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it's not yes, and now it's
okay. Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. So I'm Frinchtl. I've been with Alaska Airlines now a little over 6 years. I am the manager of community relations and engagement. So I work very closely with nonprofits in the state of Alaska to give back, but also the engagement side. I work very closely with our school districts, with nonprofits, but also with UAA and UAF to build some partnerships for career pathways for our students. A little bit about Alaska Airlines. I know a lot of people know about Alaska Airlines, but we're the 5th largest U.S. airline. We currently serve 115 plus cities. We're a little over 23,000 employees, and we serve about 46 million guests per year. And our hubs, of course, is Anchorage, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. A little bit about Alaska Airlines in the state of Alaska. Right now, we're a little over 2,000 employees. We're based in 20 communities. And right now, I serve over 300 nonprofits statewide. And then this summer, of course, we had 195 daily departures in the state. So we are currently growing. And And with that, we need employees to continue to grow in the state of Alaska and across the US. And during the pandemic, we had a lot of maintenance technicians, we had a lot of pilots take early retirement, and we already knew there was going to be an issue having enough pilots, having enough mechanics to maintain the schedule that we want, to maintain the planes that we want to fly. And so with that, we understood there's an investment that, people have to make into getting these licenses that they need. And we know it can be expensive to become a pilot. We know it can be very expensive to become a maintenance technician. And so how do we help these students? How do we help our employees go into the career fields that they want? And so we have developed a few different development programs to help with that burden for these people. So one of them is our Ascend pilot program. Actually, my counterpart that was in California is currently going through this Ascend program right now in Oregon. And so you don't have to have any experience at all being a pilot. You can go fresh. She had no experience. She managed all of our corporate giving. And now she's becoming a pilot for Alaska Airlines. So it's a program that we built with the Hillsborough Academy. We give stipends up to $26,000 towards the commercial certificates that you need to become a pilot. And also we give you direct access to mentors. So that's people who work for Alaska Airlines currently. That's some of our pilots who currently work for Alaska Airlines, and also our executive team. So of course you have no little flight experience. You have to have your first class medical, of course, prior, and you do have to relocate to Hillsborough or Redmond, Oregon. We currently don't have a program that's been built out in the state of Alaska. And then we have our other side. So this is one that you already have some experience. Maybe you've worked for another airline, a smaller airline, and you already have your private pilot's license and your first class medical. But you need a little bit of help to get to the next step of getting your commercial license. So we actually partner with UAA here in the state of Alaska and Kenai Aviation, where students can go through their programs. We'll give you a little over $12,000 for training because we know there is an expense of flight hours. And then there's opportunities to attend programs and tours and internships within Alaska Airlines, and also, of course, have mentors from our executive team down to our pilot team. We currently have right now a little over 30 students in the state of Alaska enrolled in this program. And hopefully they will come over and they will work for Horizon Airlines. They do have a commitment of 2.5 years, though, working for Alaska Airlines after going through this program. And then our maintenance technician development program. Here in the state of Alaska, we work very closely with UAF and UAA. UAF is a 1-year program, so they're one of the few schools in the US that has a 1-year program. And UAA is about 2 to 2.5 years, depending on what the student, how fast they want to go through the program. UAF pretty much allows you to go through the program without a second job. It is a 40-hour week, compared to UAA allows you to have that second job. And also we have a lot of our maintenance technicians who partner with UAA and UAF and help with training these students going through this program. So we'll reimburse you a little over $12,000. When I looked it up yesterday, UAF, it pretty much takes cover of a half of what you need to pay to get your A&P license. And then you have a job offer to Alaska Airlines after finishing the A&P program. We currently have 2 students going through the UAF program that actually are Alaska Airlines employees. And the problem with our UAF program, only 25 students can go through it currently. They just don't have the capacity to grow it. And so there is quite the wait list to go through that program. I believe it's over 25 now that are on the wait list for this year alone. And of course, they have to maintain a good standing at that school through that time to come work over at Alaska Airlines. This is the first time we're actually hiring outside of school. Previously, Alaska Airlines, you had to have some years experience working at some smaller airlines before coming over. So it's a great opportunity if there's youth that are interested in becoming a maintenance technician. They can come work for Alaska Airlines within a year at UAF. And with that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Allie. Any questions for Allie?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. I am excited to hear that there are other opportunities outside of UAA for students to get their commercial piloting license. I saw a little bit of information about some of the aid that you offer for students who are going through your program in Oregon.
Yeah.
Can you give me an estimate of what it costs for your full program and what other aid that they could qualify for if federal aid is available to them, et cetera? And then also, where would a bystander, an individual, find this information about this program?
Yeah, so all of our programs are on our Alaska Airlines Careers website. The programs are open a few times a year. The pilot program is not currently open, but the maintenance technician program is currently open on the Careers website. And so with the school in Oregon, the cost is really based off of hours that you need. So it's a little bit difficult to understand what the full cost is. It's really based off of the experience that student has. But I believe when I try to rough estimate the cost of it, it's a little over $50,000. So that starts you, and then you have to go to a smaller airline to build your hours to get that commercial license after going through that program. The school actually offers that to the students. You become a teacher at that school that is actually training the next round of students coming through that program. Or you can go work for a small carrier, build your hours that you need to get your commercial license, come back at your commercial license, and work for Alaska Airlines.
So are a lot of individuals getting private loans in order to do this? How are people funding this often?
Yeah, so you can get financial aid to go through this program, but also a lot of our students are getting extra scholarships. So there's a lot of scholarships out there right now to become a pilot, and a lot of different programs. I know nonprofits are helping students. We work very closely. We give money to nonprofits that then train those students to go into that program also.
I do have one further question. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you're okay.
So when individuals move to Oregon, they're really doing this independently, finding their own living situation, building a support network, doing all the things to sustain themselves while going through this program.
Yeah, so they do have to sustain themselves. If they are currently an Alaska Airlines employee, they stay as an Alaska Airlines employee through this program. So because it's a union, technically you go into as a pilot, as a mechanic, you get to keep your year that you started with Alaska Airlines. So it gives you a little bit of a leg up. And then also we do help with housing. So like if they can't find housing, the program will help them at that point with opportunities.
Alessandra, I am wondering if you could talk a little bit about just like ranges of income earning potential for the students once they finish the program, because seems like a big investment of time and a little bit of money skin in the game to do this program. But like, what's in it for the individual once they finish?
Yeah, so as a maintenance technician in the state of Alaska, your first year coming out of school, the pay rate is a little over $30 an hour. And then every year after, based off of the union contract, it goes up from there. And then also as a pilot, I looked up if you have a little bit experience and you're coming into Alaska Airlines as a first officer, your pay rate starts at a little over $90 an hour, and you work about 75 hours within a month period.
Thank you. Any other questions for Allie?
Is there, this is Julia with ACPE, is there an age range that is a limit, a the lower end and the higher end for ages?
Yeah, so we kind of see it across the board. We actually have a lot of students coming right out of high school that are going into this program and getting their A&P license. So a lot of them are 19 years old going through. And then we have some of our actually older employees who've been with Alaska Airlines for a few years, and they're interested in becoming a maintenance technician. We had one actually out of Juneau a few years ago. He worked on the ramp, and he was in his probably late 20s, early 30s. And he decided he wanted to become a maintenance technician. He had spent a lot of time with our technicians. So he actually went through the program at UAF. He did the year program. He worked nights at the airport in Fairbanks to fund the program. And now he works in our Anchorage base, and he's been there for a few years with us.
I was thinking also of military retirees, so someone who's 40 plus. That's probably the youngest somebody can retire, just about. Is there a limitation on somebody coming out of the service?
Nope, there's no limitation, especially for technicians. I think the oldest technician we have had in our history, he was in his late 80s, I believe, worked for us for quite a long time. He had started in his 20s and had been with us for quite some time. And then, of course, with being a pilot, there is a cutoff.
Thank you.
Hey, Allie, just for everyone else's reference, that I know the cutoff age for a pilot working at your level at Alaska Airlines for one of the majors is 65. It's required retirement. What would be the cutoff? Do you have a cutoff for the pilot programs for hiring at Alaska or Horizon?
Yeah, we currently don't have a cutoff for age. We understand sometimes it's someone's dream later in life to become a pilot. So we have no cutoff age at all. My counterpart, she was in her mid-30s and she's now becoming a pilot. No one knew she wanted to be a pilot. So it kind of threw us all off, but she will become an Alaska Airlines pilot here in the next few years. So she will probably in her 40s start with us.
That's awesome. Thank you.
There are no other questions. Again, Allie, if you'd stick around till the end in case there are questions after we invite Tara to speak, we'll cover that then. Oh, we do have one from Wendy. We'll sneak you in, Wendy. Go ahead.
Sorry, I put it in the chat and I apologize for sneaking in late. I'm just wondering if there's an education requirement for both of the positions and what the education requirement is.
Yeah, so previously, to be a pilot, actually at a major airline, you had to have some type of college degree, so a BA or, and now actually you only have to have a high school diploma or a GED to become a maintenance technician and or a pilot.
I'm just curious, Allie, what, because we're seeing that, you know, in other industries, just the changing of educational requirements. Can you speak to some of the thinking that led to that change for Alaska Airlines?
Yeah, so we kind of changed. We know that going to college is not for everyone. You know, they really want to go towards their passion. And we know there's an added cost to go to a college and then to go to a piloting school after, or then to get your certification for becoming a maintenance technician. And so a lot of the major airlines at this point have decided that it's just not a requirement anymore for us to hire you. Of course, you have to have a high school diploma, you have to have a GED prior to going into the trainings that you need to get your A&P license and then also your commercial license. But we just understand that college isn't for everyone and that cost associated with it. So we want to make sure that they have that money that they can use towards the licenses that they need.
Thank you. All right. Well, at this time, I'd like to invite Tara Masters with EMC Engineering to unmute, and I will pin your video and I'm gonna ask the question, so I'll pin myself too if I could figure out a way to do it. There we go. Okay. All right, welcome, Tara. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and EMC engineering.
Yeah, absolutely. First, I want to say this has been really interesting. EMC is a really young, small company. So hearing more about the training programs from these larger companies gives me hope for the future of where we might end up. EMC is a employee-owned construction management firm in Anchorage. We have offices in Palmer and we work throughout the state of Alaska. We're 22 years old, so we're a pretty young firm. I've been here for 18 years. And you know, we perform materials testing, special inspection, and construction management throughout the state of Alaska. We primarily work for the Department of Transportation. They are our main client. And yeah, we're just a very small, young firm learning about internal training programs and growth.
Excellent. And tell us like about the type of people that you have working for your organization, like broadly describe some of the roles of folks you employ.
Yeah, so we don't have any education requirements to work for our company. We have people that are just right out of high school, but they don't, I guess, necessarily have to have their GED, all the way up through licensed civil engineers. We do management on construction projects. So we train our staff to be inspectors on site, and we do the oversight of construction projects, making sure they adhere to all the plans and specifications. Our staff includes SWIP inspectors who maintain DEC EPA compliance. We have field inspectors that document and measure all the work that the contractors do. We have materials technicians that test the soils being utilized in projects. We have welding inspectors, and a whole broad range. And then we have our licensed civil engineers that oversee all of our projects.
So you probably have seasonal staff.
Yes.
Can you kind of describe how many you have on staff when you're lean and how many you have on staff when you're during your busiest peak?
Yeah. When I first started in 2006, there was, let's say, about 8 of us in the winter, and we would get up to about 20 in the summer. Right now we have 35 employees, usually from November to February, and then we start ramping up for the season. And so we're at about 65 right now, spread throughout the state of Alaska.
Great, thank you. And can you tell us about how your staff have experienced professional growth and development within your organization? Even, you know, if you want to share your story, how you started, and you haven't told us your position, but how you became owner, CEO of your organization, kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So I started 18 years ago as a ticket taker on construction sites. You stand outside 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, taking tickets from truck drivers, tracking materials and quantities. It wasn't what I thought that I would be doing long term. But once I met the employees, the owner, I knew that this was a very special company. It had a wonderful dynamic, and I was laid off my first season and then brought back the next year to start doing office engineering, where you track quantities and pay the contractors. And then my role expanded. I started doing administrative duties, project estimating, office work, and billings. And in 2011, the owner made the decision to start planning his 10-year out retirement. And so we were given the opportunity to purchase shares of the company. And then last February, he fully retired. And so there are 8 of us that share ownership of the company now.
And can you tell us a little bit, you used the word office engineering as, and it sounds like that's an entry level position. Is that an industry-wide concept, or is that specific to EMC engineering? Or tell us a little bit more about that.
That's an industry-wide concept for construction management firms. And we have several entry-level positions. The office engineering, essentially, we are providing oversight to construction projects. We're a representative of the state of Alaska. So we're ensuring the contractor adheres to the required plans and specifications to ensure FHWA and FAA funding. So we track quantities, we track materials, we test it to make sure it's up to code and compliance. The office engineer gathers all that information to produce pay estimates for the state to pay the contractor.
And do you want to share a little bit about, I know when we talked offline, we talked a little bit about Frinchtl, who also has worked, I mean, you know, you're a major success story, started ticket taking, and now you're an important leader in your industry and your organization. Can you tell us about other employees that have enjoyed some similar advancement while within your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So Frinchtl joined EMC in 2009, and she worked out of our Palmer office. She originally was just doing the office, but she invested in employee development, and she worked as a materials technician in the field and in the lab. This led her to advancing her role and took over as the manager out in our Wasilla office. She was a key employee in winning us some very large projects through her time out there. She has since left the Palmer office and has moved back to our Anchorage office, where she is an office engineer on numerous projects out at Anchorage International Airport. And she's actually pursuing her bachelor's degree right now, and she'll be finishing in May of 2025.
And can you tell us about how EMC engineering has supported staff interest in growth and development? I know, you know, our first 2 speakers spoke on some formalized programs that does this, but what fascinated us about your program is that it's not formal, but it's more attitude, philosophy, and culture.
Yeah, I think, you know, being a very small company, we have not been able to create a formal program through places like AvTech, but certainly something I would love to look into for the future. That really piqued my interest. But right now, we have a lot of employees vested in the continued growth and future of our company, especially with 8 of us being the owners. That, you know, we are constantly looking to see what we can do to improve and retain employees for the future. Especially being a seasonal employer, we have to work with people to make them want to come back each year. We have to become a desirable company. So, you know, over the last like 10 years, we've created informal training programs that we do internally. Usually it's the owners running these programs. But we do training, you know, for our inspectors over a several-week period, you know, prior to them going out into the field. We do WACTech training, which is a huge requirement for projects in the state of Alaska. To be able to test materials, you have to have certifications. And so we do a 4-week training period on that in-house, run by all of our technicians. We do, the state has implemented a new program called Ashtaware, and they have their own training, but we've found that we prefer to do it internally. And we have several of our office engineers who are extremely skilled in that program, and so they run a several-week training session for that program. We generally do it out of our conference rooms in our offices. In addition to that, we have helped pay for 3 of our employees go through their civil engineering program at UAA and get their civil engineering license. And they're full-time employees, so they're going to school, they're working, they're getting paid, and they're getting their degrees. One of the biggest things that we have, I have learned from the prior owner is that investing in your employees will help invest in the future of the company. They become, you know, like the other speakers said, there's always the potential that people will leave and take the training that you've provided them and go elsewhere. But that's a risk we're willing to take. I think it's worth it to have, you know, well-rounded, well-trained staff. You know, and if you invest in them, they are more likely to invest in you.
Well, wonderful. And that was actually my next question, was about EMC's organizational beliefs and attitudes towards developing staff. And I think you've answered that. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess besides our informal training programs, you know, at the end of each season, I meet with every single employee and we have a meeting and we talk about what our goals are for this coming winter to prepare them for the next season. And if there's training that they're interested in doing, you know, within our industry, and we help support them through that. And even if an employee is a seasonal employee, you know, when they come back and do training and we pay them to do that.
Wonderful. Do you have any advice for employers, other employers that are struggling to retain or promote talent within their organization?
So one of the things that I've learned from doing these end of season meetings is, you know, if an employee has done the same role several seasons in a row, they can feel really stagnant. And people are always looking to advance. And if you are willing to support them in that advancement by helping them with the financial burden, that can, it's very appreciated.
Well, thank you, Tara, and thanks for sharing about your organization. And I think there's definitely applications here for across industry. It just, you know, you just happen to be a construction engineering company, but what you're talking about is really applicable to any industry. So thank you for your time. I'm going to open it up to the group and unpin our videos so we can see everybody here. And
this is Carrie. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to, as an employer, you know, ASA, we get to facilitate this great meeting every month, but you know, we also are an employer as well as a nonprofit, and I just want to echo what Tara had to say about investing in your employees. And there is a risk of turnover, right? That's part of the something that we do. You know, Mari and our team, as the leadership of the organization, is understand that our employees won't stay forever. The folks that are there for, you know, a decade or more are pretty rare. But that in their journey, in their career journey along the way, we want to make sure that we support them, that they're ready to be great employees for the next employer that's going to hire them, hopefully here in the state of Alaska, and all that kind of good karma, what comes around goes around. And we've been very blessed with good, talented people that tend to stay with us for several years, but we certainly don't have an expectation that they're going to be with us for their entire career. So great presentation, Tara. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thanks, Carrie Ann. Mark, jump on in with your question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had more of a statement of, I really enjoyed the presentation, and we're having to do the same type of training with our teachers because we have a tribal school, but our tribal school operates differently than the conventional education model. So we had to create our own training. But I'd also echo what Carrie Ann was saying. We haven't had any turnover with our teachers, and that's practically unheard of in the education, that whether you're higher education or compulsory or secondary. And we're setting up our own apprenticeship through the tribe, setting up our own training, and it's working really well. We're taking individuals that are local community members that really have no formal backgrounds in education as teachers, and we're building them as we go with and through experience. So anyway, echoing what the other organizations are doing. So really appreciate the presentations.
Thanks, Mark. Can you identify your organization?
Yeah, I work for the Inupiat community, the Arctic Slope, and Cudahy Academy Tribal School there's our tribal school that we have located up here. It has a physical location in Wainwright, but we also offer virtual education to the rest of the North Slope.
Great, thank you. So glad to have you on here and taking following in Mark's footsteps here. Would anybody else like to on the call want to share about what you are doing in your organization to promote retention and advancement of your employees? No one? This is the topic that gets us all excited, right? Recruitment and retention and workforce development. Excuse me.
I'll go. I'm Sheree, the Associate Director of the Teamster Training Center. Myself, for our training center, our school, I've been here over 20 years, and that's even more unheard of these days. So for us, it's an ironic situation because we're looking for trainers. So we look into our apprenticeship programs and look at our folks that have gone through there. And that's actually where we find our staff. I was the apprenticeship coordinator for 20 years here. And we just back in January brought on a new apprenticeship coordinator as I advanced up to associate director. And that individual went through our construction driver apprenticeship program and then was a journey person for another 7 or 8 years after that. So he can speak to apprenticeship far better even than I after all these years. So, doing something internal like that is how we see advancement. It's also how we bring on most of our trainers, or at least how we're doing it these days. So we're bringing folks that have gone through apprenticeship programs, been out in the field, and then can come in. And then that way we continually do internal training as well. So that's another just different viewpoint of it.
Yeah, thanks, Sherry. When I've worked with students, I always tell them, you're always interviewing, even when you're not in an interview, because, everybody's watching and they're evaluating. That's a case in point, when you're training and you want that trainee to come work for your organization, that speaks volumes.
I always tell them I'm always looking for somebody that's going to replace me one day.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well, I will, yes, go ahead, Dave.
Just a general question. One of the things I didn't hear from basically all three of the presenters today was whether or not you use internships and how those connect with folks who are already in training programs such as high schools or some of the apprenticeship programs. So are the internships, you alluded in some cases to bringing people in who have not the formal training, but are those internships valuable to you in your development?
Thanks for that question, David. I'm going to go ahead and pin all three speakers. So if we have questions for all three, we can see them. So go ahead. Anybody who wants to tackle that.
I can go first. This is Allie with Alaska Airlines. So we have quite a few different internship programs. For the first time, we opened up a high school internship program here in the state of Alaska. We partnered with King Tech, and we had 2 students come over and spend time with our maintenance department for 4 weeks, and it was a paid internship. And they got to experience what a mechanic goes through on a daily basis. They got to do some of the work, and that was very exciting for those students. We also have a college internship program between your junior and senior year of high school. We brought on 2 interns at our airport in Anchorage this past summer, but also we understand that Alaska Airlines is a global company and not all internships are in the state of Alaska, but we have a lot of residents who in the state of Alaska want to work in finance, they want to work in engineering, they want to work, not just being a pilot or a mechanic. And so we have an opportunity where students can go down and spend the summer in Seattle. We help them with housing at a school nearby. And they come work with us. It's a paid internship. And there's different opportunities to work in our back office also.
Great.
Mhm.
And Stephanie, do you use interns at Trident?
Yes, we do. We used to have a really formal intern program and it kind of fell off during COVID. But we do take interns in a less formal setting than we did before. So typically, and there's opportunities to intern in our Seattle office and also in Alaska. And so the opportunities in Alaska are more so within production and leadership in our shore plants. This year, we also have an intern here in the Anchorage office who's a student at UAF, I think. So definitely opportunities. I think there's a part of the question was about some of the other training programs that we can utilize. So we are able to have journeyman electrician apprentices. So they're working towards their hours to get their journeyman license within electrical. So we have an administrator on our staff. So it's another area where we're able to take someone and develop them.
Thank you. Tara, are there internship programs that you use at EMC Engineering?
We don't have a formal internship program. We do work closely with UAA and UAF in their engineering and construction management programs. And, when students want to work for us, if they have internship requirements, we help them fulfill those obligations. But we don't have a formal program at this point.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to watch for hands, but I do have another follow-up question about the skilled worker trainee program, Stephanie. Can you tell us a little bit about the, actually same question I asked Allie, the income earning potential for the students that go through your program? And like, you kind of talked about the number of hours they're working and the fact that they're earning overtime. I will say when I watched you present to high school students, there was so much excitement among high school students and teachers because of just the immediate income earning potential for students who go through the skilled worker training program. So I just wanted to address that.
Yes, so the hourly rate the first 2 years is $19.67. So just under $20. Hopefully we'll see a wage increase in January. And then as far as their earning potential in year 3 and 4, so we would consider that market rate. And really they can be making anywhere from 85 to 100,000 in a year. They are working though 7 days a week, 12-hour days, 35 weeks a year. So they work a rotation and it's about 3 months on, 1 month off, 3 months on, 1 month off. So I always try to really encourage the students, like, be really careful because you're young and hopefully at 18 you haven't accumulated a lot of debt and you could really put some money away and buy a house. Like if you keep your bills low, a lot of them don't necessarily need to rent an apartment. They could do like a short-term rental when they're off, or a lot of them go home to different family members. So it's really, I think, a great opportunity for students to put some money away. One thing I didn't talk about was that after they finish the programs at AvTech, we do send them out to additional training so that they can get their certifications within their fields. So for example, refrigeration at AvTech, they get the Freon program, and then we send them out to Ammonia Operator 1 coursework at Garden City, which is kind of an industry standard. And then they can also sit for their RETA exam, or we require them to. So they get quite a few of these certifications, which then transfer to other companies, which is also kind of a nice perk.
Thank you. All right, any other questions for our three panelists today? We have Andrew in the chat. He says, thank you for the insightful presentation. Now there are 4 generations in the workforce. I'm curious about how you are incentivizing current employees to participate in your professional development programs. What formalized strategies or benefits are you offering to encourage their involvement and growth within the company? I ask from the lens of addressing internal salary compensation.
For us, I don't know that we are really looking for people who are interested and have the motivation themselves, I guess. So, you know, the incentive is that they can get continuing education credits, and that they get to learn, and potentially that grows them into a new position, and helps them continue on. But really, we are looking for people who want to participate. They aren't forced opportunities, and they're voluntary. So I think that is sort of what we don't want to force people to do things they don't want to do, because that might not be the path they want to take.
I can go next. We have a couple different programs internally to help our employees expand, you know, their knowledge, or if they want to acquire a new skill. We now will give employees up to $5,000 to go out and go to different programs if they want to take a class at a college or a trade school. Alaska Airlines will give you up to $5,000 to do that. We also have a lot of internal programs we call Know Your Business, where there's so many different departments at Alaska Airlines. I don't know them all, even myself. And so we have these Know Your Business where it gives you that opportunity to spend 3 hours with someone that works in engineering or real estate. We just did one about the state of Alaska, where employees can come and learn. And if you're interested, it gives you that time, that one-on-one, to ask your questions. And also if there's opportunities to go over to that department. We also have an internal program where it's a commitment based off of your hours as an employee, but you go and work with a group of other employees, and the company will give you a project to work on. So it gives you that opportunity to go out, explore, get to know other, people in the company, and work on this internal project that Alaska Airlines needs help with, figuring out. It could be, baggage timing, how to get that bag to our customers faster, or it could just be many different scenarios. But you work on this project for 6 months. It gives you that opportunity to have that one-on-one with our executive team, and then you present your project, and sometimes it gets implemented at Alaska Airlines. So that's another opportunity to grow within the company.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ally.
all. This is Andrew, the guy who asked the question. I suppose my question is just as much a comment. I um I work for the university, but I know that many other organizations, all the industries actually, are experiencing salary compression within their organizations. So I know a lot of these recruitment efforts or internship or growth efforts are used as recruitment tools. So I mentioned that there are 4 generations in the workforce, and a lot of these tools do help recruit the younger generations. Meanwhile, there are already existing folks in the workforce. So I guess that's the lens that I'm coming from. I am trying to think of ways to address that in the university. But that's the lens that I'm coming from. It does feel strange, say, as a current employee, to learn of a person that's fresh out of school and who's participated in, say, an internship program, getting hired at the same rate as me, who's an existing employee. There's my soapbox.
We have, kind of a pay scale. So, I think our employees are aware that the entry-level positions pay a certain rate. And as you advance through your training and additional certifications that the company pays for, your pay will increase proportionally. We try to maintain our competitive pay scale by matching the Alaska Department of Transportation's pay scale for similar positions. But in regards to older employees going back to, continue training, one of our employees who's been working here for 8 years went back last year to get her civil engineering degree so that she can start running projects. And yes, there is a pay bump with that, but also responsibility investment. I think you have to find those motivated employees who want to continue with their education.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Andrew,
Tara.
I'm sorry, I'm not one of the presenters, but I just wanted to justify Andrew's soapbox, as he calls it, because we see that happening in workforce development a lot, where everyone's scrambling to hire new employees. And it's a great reminder to employers that you have great people working for you that are really already the backbone of your organization, that are contributing, that show up every day. And when they see gigantic hiring bonuses for new people coming on or short-term contracts just to fill the void that's really paying at a much higher scale, it makes them kind of second guess, like, what is my loyalty to this company? Because what is their loyalty to me? I've been here for a long time. Here's this other person that's just gotten hired. They got a gigantic bonus that I'll never see. So I think it's a very good reminder that Andrew's given us this morning to think about. It's not just about the hiring, but the retention of good people that are really already contributing to your organization. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Karian.
All right, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Carrie Ann. At this time, I'm gonna unpin everybody's videos and open the forum up for roundtable announcements. And thank you to our 3 presenters for coming on and sharing your experiences and information about your organization. There's been some requests in the chat for contact information, so I'll make sure I put that in our, with your permission, of course, let me know if you don't want your contact information, but on the summary document, but I'll share that out along with Trident's flyer, any other written information you want out, presenters, please go ahead and email them to me. And I know we had Amy with a roundtable announcement. Amy, you want to go ahead and share your announcement, and then I'll call on you, Sherry.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my video starting. Hi, once again, Amy with Alaska Literacy Program. I just wanted to share a new class that we are trying this year in partnership with the Anchorage Childcare Licensing Program. We are going to be having a home child care entrepreneurship class. It is going to be starting August 26th and going through December 19th. It'll be focusing on licensing people who English is not their first language and who want to be home child care providers. It'll also be focusing on a nationally recognized industry entrepreneurship credential. So they will be walking away with hopefully a childcare license as well as a credential that can be used for funding as well. So I just wanted to share that. I did share a flyer in the chat so that you can pass that around if you know anybody who wants to open. It is only in the Anchorage area. We're going to start there and see how well it goes. The other thing is that we do have our Q1 classes starting August 26th and going through October 19th. And then those are English classes, citizenship classes, GED classes, and we do have independent study as well as tutor available as well. If you have any questions, I will put my email in the chat and you're more than welcome to contact me. It's also on the flyer I shared.
Thank you, Amy. Go ahead, Sherry.
Hi, thank you. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we have opened up 3 of our apprenticeship programs for applications. So flyers are just finishing up today, so we should be sending those out. So Mari, I will definitely make sure we send them to you as well directly. But we have our Teamster surveyor apprenticeship. So that's a surveyor technician spot, and that application period open and the deadline is September 27th. That's a very popular one that we don't open very often. So I hope and expect a lot of applications. And then right behind that, we are having our construction truck driver apprenticeship as well. And that application period will also end September 27th. And then we have our freight transport driver, which this particular opening is specifically for Fairbanks. So we are looking for freight drivers for the Fairbanks area. We do have an anticipation for opening it again later, probably around December. We'll do an opening for the Anchorage area, but right now we're specifically recruiting for it for Fairbanks. So those are just updated on our website, the akteamsterstraining.com. And but if anybody needs any specific information, I'm always willing to share. And then I can also share with you, Jordan Black is our apprenticeship coordinator now. And so if anybody has questions or wants to learn more about the programs, they're welcome to speak directly with him. That's
Great,
all.
thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
I'll look for that flyer when you got it ready. Okay, and go ahead, Kathy.
Thanks, Mari. I just wanted to take this opportunity since it's my last BEC meeting. For those of you that are unaware, I'm taking another job in Washington State and I'll be leaving at the end of the month. So I just wanted to say thanks for this group and how much I appreciated working with you all over the years. But also with my conference coordinator hat on, I wanted to put out that the annual Alaska Association for Career and Technical Education professional development conference will be happening October 14th and 15th at the Hotel Captain Cook. And for all of you who aren't familiar with that organization, it is a gathering of CTE professionals, both from secondary and post-secondary. There is a vendor fair that if you wanted to have a booth there and make connections with some of the high school classes for making that connection for getting access to high school students to your programs, that's an opportunity. I will give Mari my contact information after August 30th, and you can reach out and participate in that. Or if you like to just come and listen to the wonderful speakers and hear the great keynote speaker that we have, you can also register for that conference at Just do a Google search for ACTE PDC, alphabet soup, and it'll get you right to that website. So anyways, thanks everybody. It's been wonderful, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. I'm going to be working in workforce education in Washington State. So same topic, just a new cast of characters.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks for all your contributions to this community. I know we're all gonna miss you so much. All right, Julie, you're up.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy, for all of your time and your different positions and your growth in the state of Alaska and supporting high priority occupations and students and families across the state. I do represent ACPE, the Alaska Commission on Post-Secondary Education. Brand new branding going on above my head here, but we do still sponsor AKCIS, the Alaska Career Information System. It is renewal season. Some of you have probably already seen my messages. There'll be more coming out. If you have not renewed, you'll continue to get messages. But a couple of new things. I put one in the chat, brand new last week, Thursday. We got our new work-based learning career plan, which comes right up on the first page as you log into AKCIS. Remember, we do have the junior version, which is 8th grade and under. We've got the high school. Both of those then grow up into post-secondary and workforce development. And so this work-based learning career plan is available high school on up, and I'm working on the junior version being available. But it'll allow students and users to track their hours, their time spent in all kinds of work-based learning opportunities. So keep that as kind of like a time card thing. So if you don't have an official time card, that's something you might want to add in to a career plan or something that you're working with your interns or externs. New as of the end of this last semester, we have apprenticeship positions, apprenticeship information listed for over 250 careers in AKCIS. Of course, that's careers by name. And then, of course, they've got lots of other names that fall under them when you're thinking about the big scope of careers in the United States. And so those are going to give us specific information about the apprenticeships under those careers, with information coming from Apprenticeship USA, specifically linked into those careers. So remember, AKCIS is free to everyone to use, generally 3rd grade through retirement. That's my very small niche of people. So I look forward to seeing your renewals and limiting my messaging going out.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I don't see any other hands up. Just a final reminder that October 25th, mark your calendar for our in-person BEC meeting. I can't wait to see you all face to face. I know it's in conjunction with ASA's annual meeting. So if you need to travel to come into Anchorage to attend, it's you could make a full day of it, just looking forward to seeing you all at O'Malley's on the Green in October in person. Tell your friends, more the merrier. And if you have some thoughts or ideas about the type of presentation you'd like to see during our luncheon, please email those to me as well. I'm open to any and all ideas to make this a meaningful gathering for us. All right, with that, have a good day, everyone, and we'll see you on September 11th for a session about the workforce opportunities for our military folks.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
Mari.
Yes.
Thanks,
Oh, go ahead.
Mari.
Marianne.
No, thanks, Mari. That's
Oh,
all.
thank you. Bye-bye.